Hello, everyone. I'm a senior management professional in one of the top consulting firms. I have more than 15 years of experience, and I'm here to make a course on design thinking. It's a very fundamental and foundation framework which is being used by various business professionals, consultants, product managers to address any problems, identify the problems, how to structure the problems, and identify the best appropriate efficient solution to solve the problem and how to tie it out with the business value that they are going to generate for it. Now, that all sounds very cliche, but the idea is not to give you a bookish understanding of design thinking, which is available on various YouTube videos, on courses, but to give you a deeper understanding and appreciation of this process and framework, which you can use in your day-to-day activities, in your projects, in your profession, irrespective of your role. Be you are a business operational person, you are a engineering manager, you are a developer, you are a tester, you are into finance, irrespective of your position in an organization, this framework is going to help you to implement in your project or certain initiatives which you can take in your organization and present it in a very structured, meaningful, and a manner which is going to make an impact to your stakeholder. This course is primarily going to help the folks who have more than 10 years of experience and they're kind of looking forward to your next phase of growth or maybe sustain or maybe make a move, uh, and their experience is between 10 to say 15 or 17, 18 or maybe 20 years of experience. Now let's get into it, and let's see what exactly design thinking is. Now, what design thinking, if you look into this figure, right, in this diagram, right, you have three kind of circles and there is an intersection between these three subsets as we know, right? So we talk about people, business, technology. Now it talks about whatever problem that you want to solve, right? How much it can affect your business positively, right? How can it impact your business? How much is it viable for your business, right? That is very, very important. What are the different segments of your business in which it's going to impact? Now, even if you are, say, if you are a developer, right, and or if you are a project manager, you are stuck, you want to grow up, you not only take what it is in your project to develop, you are not into your execution mode only, but you look into and say, okay, the features that you are building in your project, how it is helping your end customer, right? How it is impacting your business. What are the customer segments for which you are solving the problem? Can other problems could also be solved, right? Can other customer segments could also be incorporated for the same project? Now, these kind of discussions you could have your business stakeholders with your product owners, which will give them a better appreciation that you don't only care about executing the project, but also you are looking for the better, most efficient approach to execute your project, which would have more business impact. Now, very much, yeah. So, as you heard, the first pillar in it is the business, right? And we talked about is it viable for us to build the solution? When I say it's a viability of solving the problem, is does it impact our top line or does it impact our bottom line? So if you are working in any product, say you are in an IT organization, you are working on an application, you are building a solution, you are working on a product or anything, then you say, okay, even if you are just into the implementation mode, you think it through and you understand, okay, how it is going to impact the top line or the bottom line, right? So business viability is very, very important, because if you start thinking in that terms, then you are going to have a more meaningful conversations with your business stakeholders and the product owners. The second pillar in this framework is of feasibility, of desirability. I would come feasibility later. Desirability is much more important, and that is about the customer segments, right? Say which customer segment you want to target. Is it desirable by that particular customer segment? Say if you have identified a problem, which is a very important problem to solve, but it is only addressing 5% or 10% of the customer base that you have. So your application is being used by say 1,000 or say 20,000 users, or an organization if it's a B2B application, but the problem or the feature which you want to build is only solving for the 10% of those particular customers or the addressable market that you have. Then, though, now no matter how well you have solved the problem, but it is not a desirable problem to solve. So everything is in business or in product or in in any kind of effort that you are putting in, it's a cost that is company is paying for. So they would look forward for the maximum value, and that's why the second pillar is important. Is it desirable? The problem is desirable to be solved, right? So that is the second pillar. The third pillar talk about the feasibility of it. Now you have said, okay, that's a problem that we want to solve. It's a viable one. It is going to say improve your top line and the bottom line. Second one, you say it is desirable. It is going to use by multiple customers. The top tier segment, say 80% of the customers you are solving this problem. Then you also want to look at the feasibility, the technical feasibility of implementing it. You may not want to do the evaluation by yourself if you are not a technical person, but if you have your own team and you go with the team and understand the different aspects of solving the problem which you have already identified, right? And then you say, okay, which is the most feasible option to implement? It may not make sense to implement a solution which get released by 2 years. By then you may not even have the customer base, or the problem which you're trying to solve is already been solved or does not exist anymore. So, and the cost that it is going to take to implement it, say 2 years, 3 years, it does not give you the cost benefit value to implement the solution, uh, in terms of the dollar value on the top line and the bottom line that is going to give, right? So that the feasibility part is very important. So the sweet spot, right, that comes in is in the intersection of these three circles. So which talks about the problem that you want to solve from the business perspective is viable. It is going to give dollar value to your organization. Second, it is desirable by the majority of your key customer segments. Third is feasible. So it is technical feasible to implement it in the timeline which is acceptable to your customer segment and to the business cycles, uh, or anything which the roadmap has been set for. Yeah. Now this is the process. Now this slide or diagram, most of you would have seen somewhere. Even if you just do a Google search, you would say, okay, this is emphasize, design, ideate, prototype, test. But what does it mean? If you are into an organization in any IT firm, right, and you are working as a tester, developer, you are a project manager, consultant, what does it mean for you? How you can use, leverage this framework, for you to grow in your organization, right? So, as I said, primarily, this is the video and the course which my target is to uh, Now, for the folks who are 10 plus years of experience primarily, and they're kind of looking to make a jump, grow in the organization, get have more impact in their current roles, and further grow into the various other roles in which they wanted to. Now let's talk about the first uh, phase in this process, right? That is emphasize with the user. Now, even if you are working in your product, right, or in your project, and you are an IT project manager, even if you're a tester, even if you are a developer, you look at, okay, what is the user journey that your application has, what they have to do. And I will cover all those things like user journey, how to build a user journey, what is the framework for it in my subsequent videos. But understand from a very basic point of view, you go to your first page, you do certain activities, fill some data, you go to the next page, then you again do something. Just think about filing your ITR, right? You have certain user journey. You select something, you come to a page, you declare your investments, and then thereafter um, most of the things, and then fill up more data, and then eventually you file your ITR or any application, even you purchasing something on the Amazon as well, right? You put yourself in the shoes of the user who are going to, or the customer who are going to use your application, and then see how would they feel if they are going to use the application. Eventually, the application or the product that you have built has been built for them to accomplish certain tasks or activities. Is it the most efficient journey that has been implemented? At times, no. Even if you see Amazon of the world and the Flipkarts of the world, they are not the best when they first arrived. It is with the iteration throughout, where with the feedback from the user, where the bottleneck which they have identified, this product has improved. And this is where you can play a role as well, where you could also have the same mindset and make an impact in the product in which you are working on. Or maybe when you are having those conversations with the stakeholders, you put yourself, you do your homework, put yourself in the shoes of the users while you are having a discussion, and then you come up, hey, in this user journey or while we are building this application, this is the bottleneck or this is the friction point. Can we do this to reduce this friction point, right? I will give you more deeper understanding of the user journeys in my subsequent video, but the idea is to put yourself in the shoes of the user and then identify various problems. The second is define it, right? Now, defining the problem is very, very important because then you think not only about that particular problem, but then you talk about all the problems that you have identified, right? Problem number one, problem number two, problem number three, problem number four, problem number five for all the segments. When you have defined all the problems and how much value or importance that all these defined problems for each customer segment is, and it depends. It may have multiple customer segments, it may not have multiple customer segments, right? You what it gives you, it will give you an ability to prioritize which problem to solve. If you go back to our previous framework, right, in which we are looking at the business viability, right, and the people and the technology. So this is people where you're looking at, okay, which problem I want to prioritize, right? For which customer segment we want to prioritize so that it has the maximum business impact. Okay. So that is you define the problems and identify the problems. Then the ideate, the third phase. The ideate says, okay, you have identified multiple problems, but now you have chosen and defined few problems which you want to solve and prioritize. What are the different possible solutions that you could have, right? So you ideate the solution for it. Now, ideation of the solutions, you could come up with multiple solutions, multiple ways. You forget about technology. Don't think about, say, okay, how I want to solve this problem, how it is for the user. Do you want to build an application, uh, new application, enhanced feature in your application you want to build? And even if you are a business operation person, you want to do it for your stakeholder, right? You want to give him a new Excel sheet, new Power BI dashboard, anything like that, right? And then you say, which is the most feasible option for me? When you say feasible, is a technical feasible, it should not, it should be developed, your team or the resources or yourself should be able to develop it in a timely manner in which customer is able to use it, all right, and value it, right? So even if you are building a solution and say the demand is to have the various dashboard cuts every now and then, so every 3 days, while you are building a web application, which is, the updation of that itself is taking 7 days, it is of no value for the customer, right? Or it is not technical feasible. Say it is the top line or the bottom line, it is giving you, say, of $10,000. I'm just giving you some number, but the cost of implementation itself is $50,000. So it is not a technically feasible solution, right? So you have to look at the most feasible way, technically feasible way to solve that particular problem, right? So that is ideate, and then you build a prototype. When you say prototype, it does not mean that you build the MVP, which is the minimum viable product. No, the prototype could be a pages you define on your paint. There are wires that you can build, wireframes you can build with your sketches with on paint itself. If you have some licensed tools like Figma and all, you can build the wires, and so that the different user segments can see it and understand it, what the thought process is, and how it is going to look like, right, when it is going to get developed, so that you can have the immediate feedback cycle. And the last one is the test. So you can get it tested. You build your prototype, which could be any Figma wires. It could be your sketches and wires which you build on Paint as well. Some PPT with those diagrams and everything. Anything could be a prototype. And then that could be tested depending upon what kind of limited set of group users that you have. So say if you're building an application and one of the user for that application is a finance analyst, finance controller, or you have CFO as well. So you have the wires in place, and then you can show it to all the three segments, few of the select segment, and say, hey, this is a problem that we have identified. This is how we are thinking of solving this problem, and these are the rough uh, ways, or the wires, or this is the rough sketches of the application which would be eventually developed. So you will get the immediate feedback from that particular customer segment, right? So that is the entire cycle of design thinking. It is a generally a large workshop that happens in the organization in which they do it for 7 days. It is not something very feasible to do it in every organization, but I think that is a process that helps the organization or the product team or the engineering team, development team to iterate and get the feedback as soon as possible from the key stakeholders. A, there is a structure to it. B, there is a framework in it. Uh, C, there's a process in which we are prioritizing the problem which we want to solve. We are identifying uh, the most efficient solution to solve it. And at the same time, we are building a very uh, small prototype to test it so that we know how the solution needs to be developed, right? And then we are iterating on this. And that's what the design thinking process is all about. You iterate on this, you build, you solve more problems, you build more features, and eventually an application with multiple features is being built, right? So how if you are going to use this process in the product you are working on, uh, even if you are a tester, as I said, even if you are engineering manager, even if you are project manager, even if you are an architect, you are a business analyst, what it does, it gives you a high level view, an end to end view in which you can give more feedback and value to your business stakeholders. You can talk about more problems which you want to solve, which solution you considered, which solution you did not consider. You talk about other features which could also be put into the backlog, which could have an impact on the business, impact on the product adoption or the dollar value. So all these conversations is going to make you stand out from the other teams. And if your career is stagnated, even if you are into any of the phases, right, or even if you are into finance and operations, this framework is going to help you to take more initiative or in your existing project or initiative to add more value than a mere individual contributor. Yeah, this is a double diamond framework. This is the third framework within design thinking. Uh, I have briefly touched upon in the previous two frameworks. Now you will be able to connect the dot across if you talk about emphasize design, define, ideate, and prototype and test uh, across all the phases, how these are interconnected, right? The two other frameworks which I talked about. So when you emphasize with the users, right? We talked about there could be various user segments. For each user segment, there could be various problems which you want to solve, right? Now, you may list down and then you come up with, say, five user segments, and then for each user segment, so there are four problems which you want to solve. So there are 20 problems which you want to solve. Now, out of those 20 problems, you diverge and you are very broad when you emphasize with the user. You don't think about, oh, I've listed down so many problems. No, just list it down. Just think about it. Even if you're working in an application, you think about it. You get that feedback, you get that information. Even if you are not into the product role, you will get that information from your product uh, counterpart, and also you put yourself into the user shoes, right? And out of those 20 problems, then you have to prioritize, right? You converge and say, okay, I have to define and say, okay, which problem I want to solve, right? Which user segment I want to target. And this is where our previous framework will come into the picture. We have to look at the segment which we want to solve for and which has the feasibility and the viability, right? Business feasibility and technical viability. So one which has the maximum business feasibility, viability, sorry, and are the one which we want to target. Say I have five customer segments. I say, okay, these three problems, if I solve, it will have the maximum impact, right? In terms of the either in the revenue or in the uh, bottom line or top line profitability or maybe adoption, right? Whatever the metrics, business metrics which the stakeholders want to target, right? As we call it, the North Star. Now you have identified, say, four and five uh, key problems which you want to solve. Now, for those problems, solving those problems, you could have multiple solutions. You may say, okay, let me use GenAI, Chat GPT based solution. Let me build web applications. Let me build a SharePoint application. Let me build a Power BI. So there could be 20 solutions which you may come up with. Now you have to again, once you have diverged, you have to again converge back and say, okay, what is the most efficient way me to build that solution, right? And this is again the aspect of the technical feasibility, right? And business viability will come into the picture. When I say technical feasibility, is it even feasible to build the solution? Even if it is feasible to build the solution, is it business viable to build the solution? So is it going to give us the profit? Is it cost benefit analysis if you do it? Is it cost effective to build use that particular approach? So that is the exercise which needs to be done out of the various solutions which you have identified, right? And then you pick and say, okay, this is the solution which I'm going to use. Say it might be a simple Power BI dashboard which solves your problem. It might be a SharePoint solution. It might be a Power App solution, or you may have to use a Gen AI if those tools are available, right? Now, and then you can pick up that particular solution, you build the prototype and you test it. Now, this is the approach, right? If you give an explanation of this approach to any of your business stakeholders, why are you solving this? What are the different problems you have identified? Which one you are solving? Why are you solving this? How it is going to impact, and what are the matrices, business matrices it is going to impact? Then you are talking in the terms of the business, and all your business stakeholders, key stakeholders, will start valuing you. And this is where you're, if you move into a business role, if you want to grow in your organization, uh, this is the framework which you can use, right? And if you want to define the product roadmap, if you have to add or suggest certain new changes, enhancements, features for the product, the approach that you are having, how you're considering everything with a holistic approach, um, it will you would have more meaningful conversations with the business team. You would have more impactful, and your thoughts and suggestions would be valued. And this is the way I have seen folks in the organization have grown. This is the framework which we use extensively in all the products that we develop, in most of the consulting assignments that we do. I have seen the engineering folks who have come up and utilize this, not precisely you build those diagrams, but utilize this framework as in coming up with their approaches, with their suggestions, evaluating and understanding the various features, themes, roadmaps. And those are the engineering folks. The testers even have moved into the product roles and then into the leadership roles or the engineering roles, because we are looking from the customer point of view, we are looking from the business point of view, and we are looking from the technology point of view. All the three things coming into the picture.